and welcome to Beyond the Red Carpet. I'm Francine Brokaw. Today I have a guest who is a musician, a singer, a violinist, a mother of 5, an entrepreneur, a member of the famous Osmond family, and last but not least, the person I'm really proud to call my friend. Welcome, Amy Osmond Cook. Oh, I forgot to mention, you're also the co-host of Good Day Orange County here on Channel 6.
Oh, thank you, Francie. That is so kind of you.
Oh, it's great to have you here because a lot of people, they ask me, is she one of the Osmonds? I said, yeah. Mm-hmm. Can we learn more about that? So what we want to talk about today is growing up in that family.
Yes.
Okay, and you're one of 5.
That's right.
You're the oldest.
So my dad is one of, just as a little background, my dad is one of 9 children that later became known as the Osmond family, the show business family, and he was one of the 4 original Osmond brothers.
The Osmond Brothers Quartet.
That's right. The Osmond Brothers Quartet.
Show.
That's right.
Yes.
And they started out. You started out singing, and it was pretty spectacular to watch some of that old footage because, you know, Jay was 4, I think. My dad was 6, and Alan was 8. Let's see. Whoa, Jay was even younger than that. So Alan was 8, my dad was 6, Meryl was 4, and Jay was 3. Yeah, just 3. And so that's when they first started singing. And when you see a quartet with boys that age, I mean, that's pretty impressive. And so my dad remembered, like, they were pretty poor growing up, and so they would go and sing at night, and my grandpa would take them to the hamburger joint, and he cut a burger into 4 and give them each a piece of a burger, and that was their dinner for the night. And so they became really hard workers at a really young age, and I really admire that about my family. All of them are very, very hard workers. So they just kept going and going and going. And they did it initially to earn money for the 2 oldest brothers, Verl and Tom, for a church mission that they wanted to go on. And so that's how they started. And then they were having a lot of success in a little town called Ogden, Utah. And so my grandpa thought, you know what, let's try Disneyland. And they were hiring musicians at Disneyland, and they got the gig. And so Dad and the rest of them would stand out on the corner, just like you see today at Disneyland, and do their little quartet numbers. They enjoyed it. They were just doing it day in and day out. But one day, Andy Williams' dad was walking by, and he heard the little boys, and he thought, this is something special. And this is something that Andy might want to have on his show. And so he invited the boys to come to the set, and that's kind of where they got their big break, was on the Andy Williams show.
And they went national there.
That's right.
Yeah.
So they opened up for Andy Williams, and they had this really special relationship with him, and to this day, you know, speak nothing but, you know, so highly of Andy, and really appreciated the mentorship that they received from him. So that's kind of how they got their start.
They got their start, then they went on tour. They went on tour.
That's right.
They had the Donnie and Marie show, and they were regulars on there, and they were producers, I believe.
That's right. So as they became, as they tried to progress in their music career, they had a number of different albums. That went well. They introduced Donnie to the group, and that went well.
That was a mistake for them.
Donnie was just a dynamo.
Yes.
I mean, what a cute little boy. And then introducing Marie to the group, and then Jimmy later. It was a really fun dynamic.
Well, they were all cute. You can't just
say
one
all
was,
cute.
because they were all together. They were adorable.
I think it was the family togetherness that, you know, people don't get enough of it in entertainment, and I think to this day it's still true. You know,
that's true.
So,
but now your dad, how old was he when he started?
He was 6 when he first started.
6 when he started, and he grew up with that as his life.
That's right.
I know from talking with your mom several times that your parents did not want that life for you and your siblings.
That's right. So my dad, we would talk about it sometimes because I had an amazing privilege of going on tour with him sometimes and playing the violin. And I was a regular on the Osmond Family Theater show in Branson, Missouri.
Yeah, we got to get to Branson later.
Okay, but anyway, it was a really amazing opportunity. And then when I thought about going into the family business, my dad would always say, sure, you can go into the family business, but you have to graduate from college first. Because he always felt like he wanted to try so many things, but he didn't have a degree, and he felt like that was very limiting. And so he was, show business is just a killer schedule. It's very draining, and
it's a business. It's not,
that's
it's a
right.
business.
That's right. And so he wanted to, be able to explore some other opportunities and didn't feel like he could because he didn't have a college degree. And so that was the directive to me, saying, you can do it if you want to, but first get a college degree. And so I appreciated that. And I realized through that my real passion was actually in marketing and technology, because that was, it was challenging and exciting. And I had some background in it just from growing up in the family that I did.
And you've started businesses on your own, which is great.
That's right.
And you are also the publisher of my book.
Right.
There's a little plug.
That's right. We had so much fun doing that
We
together.
did have fun that.
Who knew that we would forge such a strong friendship and bond from
I
that
love all your
afterwards?
kids. I mean, the Cook family is
Miss
just
Francine
fabulous.
is our favorite person at our house.
Oh, I can't get enough of your kids. They're all adorable. But also, your mom told me, I've been corresponding with her for years.
Yes.
She told me that when you were little and you were on the family shows, the Christmas shows, and everything, talent scouts wanted to sign you, and your mom said, no, we can't do that yet. You've got to give her a real normal life, whatever normal is. But do you think? Well, I know your life would have been different, but what do you feel about that?
I'm really grateful for it. I think that she was always really great about not putting any pressure on me and letting me do whatever I wanted, which is not always the case, especially in the industry. And so I really loved the fact that it was always my choice, and it was something that I quit the violin 3 times before I was 12, and my mom was always like, sure, no problem. But then I picked it back up again, and I did it because I loved it. And that was what really enabled me to just keep going on it, so I didn't get burned out. And so I think that I really admire my mom and my dad both for not pushing me into anything and just letting me find my own path. I love that.
Your uncle, one of your uncles, had his kids grow up in the business as the Osmond boys.
That's right.
And I cannot see your dad letting your family do that, because everything I've heard from your mom and what I know about your dad, he mentioned on, actually you can find it on YouTube, that he thought being an Osmond was the cause of his cancer.
Oh, well, the schedule, like I was saying, the schedule, man, is rough. It is so rough.
And he didn't have a choice. He was pushed into it. And this is what you do, this is where you go. And they had the stress of being the one-take Osmonds.
That's right.
And that was a lot of pressure to put on a kid. All his growing up years, the formative years.
It's interesting because you go through that and you think, okay, so is that something that maybe my grandpa shouldn't have done, right? Should he not have put them all in the business? On the other hand, they became very successful and they enjoyed a lot of that. And so it's kind of sixes. I think some people in our family think, oh, it would have been great to have a regular childhood. And then you look at it the other way and you say, you know what, I'm so grateful to my dad for giving me that opportunity to experience that kind of success. And that is what it took in order for them to be successful, was that grueling schedule.
Now, I know I went to a private school, and every summer my parents would sit me down, and my sister went to a public, and said, you choose, do you want to continue to go back to public, or do you want to continue to go back to private, or what is your choice? But your parents, your father and his siblings did not have that choice.
That's true.
Which is, I think, had they had it, they would have, probably stayed for a while, but I don't know if they would have continued as much. Do you?
I think it depended. I think there's definitely a lot of my uncles, and I think some of them really, really love the business. And then my dad is an introvert, and so everybody, everyone laughs.
Although he's an extrovert on stage. I mean, he switches.
He is.
When he gets on stage, he's totally different.
Yes, so he's definitely an extrovert on stage, and you know, he's like, they called him Crazy Wayne for a decade because he did his magic show act and he did his jokes, and he loved that. And then, but then when he was an introvert, you know, like, he really is personally an introvert, and so he wanted to have his own space at the Osmond Family Theater, as an example. And there were only 2 dressing rooms. There was the brothers' dressing room, and then there was there were 3. The brothers' dressing room, and then the women and the men. And so all the brothers had the same dressing room, and which is another thing I really admire, is they never had these like crazy requests about anything. And so, but anyway, my dad really wanted his own space. And so they found a little closet at the Osmond Family Theater. It was about 3 feet wide and 3 feet deep. And all there was room for was 1 chair, so he could like sit down and zen before the show and decompress.
Yes.
And he kept it stocked, just floor to ceiling with candy.
Oh my gosh!
And so
he's so skinny.
I know. But all my nephews, all my cousins, all the nieces and nephews, they would come in and they would knock on Uncle Wayne's door, and he'd give them a piece of candy.
Oh wow, that's funny.
Isn't that great?
Okay, before we go back to your mom, let's stay with in Branson at the Osmond family.
Sure.
You moved to Branson at what age?
So I moved there when I was 16.
16, okay. Now, your mother recently told me a story about your first date in Branson. And if you want to say it, you can, but it might be embarrassing, so I'm not gonna tell it. But I do have a question about that. Is in the family that you're in, did you have a hard time wondering if your friends or your dates were interested in you as a person or an Osmond?
Yeah, I did actually wonder that, and then I finally realized that people thought it was kind of an interesting conversation starter, and beyond that, they didn't really care, you know. But it took me a couple of years to get there, because I was a little insecure about who am I as an individual, you know. Do people like me for me? Do they? And I realized, you know what? You know, it's not that big of a deal to people. They think it's kind of interesting at first, and then they're like, okay, well, you know, it only lasts for so long, right? Yeah. And so, but back to my date.
Okay, yes, you can tell. I'm not going to tell it because it's yours to tell.
I remember, so my cousin set me up on this date.
Which cousin, may I ask?
It was either Doug or, I think it was Doug. And Doug's like a year younger than I am. And so he set me up with one of his friends, and I was excited to go, and I thought it was funny. But I had, like, you know, sometimes some of us dark-haired women have facial hair, right? And so I had this little tiny Mexican mustache right here, and I'm like, well, I got to get it off. And so I put this thing called Nair on my lip, and I left it on for too long, and I got a chemical burn from here to here. So it was very clear what I had been doing. So I had this big old red mustache, and I was like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? Like, makeup was not even close to covering it. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go. And so then I went out on this it was a blind date, and my date showed up, and his eye was swollen shut because he had been stung by a bee that morning right on his eye. So we just made the best couple. We were like the odd couple of the group, but we had a lot of fun. So.
Okay. Did you date him again after that?
No, but we were friends. Yeah, so we were friends. So it was just a funny icebreaker for sure.
Well, not only you've got 2 famous people in your family, your mother and your father, because your mother in 1979 was Miss Utah.
So she was 1974.
74. Oh yes, 1974, and you were in 1994. You were Miss.
I was America's Junior Miss.
America's Junior Miss. Okay, so we've got 2 pageant winners here.
Isn't that funny? So my mom.
Your mom is gorgeous. I mean,
She's so much cuter than me, but that's
no,
another story.
Everybody is.
but my mom was really beautiful, and what was really funny to her, what was really and very interesting to me, is she's not the pageant type. She's very she's not really into fashion. She's not really into all of the things that stereotypically you would think of as pageanty, right? And whenever I told her I wanted to do something, she'd be like, "Why? You know, I don't like." She never wanted to put any pressure on us to like follow in her footsteps or anything. And so, but when she was doing Miss Utah in 1974, she just knew that for some reason, she knew that her husband one day would appreciate that she had done that. And my dad, when he saw her, she was singing in church, and he saw her, and he just like, it was an instant love at first sight.
Wow.
And he went up and met her, and they dated. And he told her later that he was so impressed that she had done that, and that was one of the things that he was attracted to initially. And so I thought that was really kind of special.
Well, I remember when they got married. Their picture was, I remember their wedding picture in the newspaper, because I'm in Salt Lake, and that was really impressive.
Yeah, they were a really cute couple together.
Yes.
I think they still are a cute couple together.
So. And then you were America's Junior Miss. Mm-hmm. Did she give you any advice when you were going into that?
She was pretty careful on the advice. She taught me some really important things, though. She taught me, she goes, you know what, the best person doesn't always win. So I'm always going to think you're the best person, but it really has no bearing on whether you win or not. So all you do is go out and just do your best.
And have fun.
And just go have fun.
Yeah.
And just take it as a good learning experience. And I really think that was, it was super meaningful to me, because I was able to get so much out of the experience, and I made friends that I still have now
Really?
from the experience. Yeah, I'm still really close to my host mom in Mobile, and I was actually just texting with her last week, catching up with her family, and so it was wonderful to be able to have that perspective and kind of get the most that I could out of it. Mm-hmm. So.
Now, your kids are very talented. I mean, I've heard them.
Thank you.
What if one of them, Lizzie, comes up to you and said, "Mom, I want to be a professional singer"? What would you tell her?
If she said that to me, I would say, first you need to practice an hour a day, and then we'll see how that goes, because it takes a lot of commitment. It has to be your own passion. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, the reason that a lot of child stars end up on drugs and troubled is because it's just a coping mechanism for all of the pressure that you're not equipped to handle when you're a kid. Mm-hmm. And so you have to, it has to come from within, and it has to be only self-imposed. You can't have any external pressure on you at all. But in order to succeed doing it, you have to be so committed to it. You have to be it has to be your absolute goal in life. And so I would be totally supportive if she wanted to do something like that, but it would really have to come from her.
And you wouldn't let her start a career before she graduates?
That's my rule too.
You got the same rule. You have
I've got the same rule. Do whatever you want, just graduate from college first. Yeah.
Your oldest is your son, and he's in BYU. So
that's right. So he's in college, and he actually has been doing a lot of music writing and production, and he has found just an absolute passion for it, and so much joy from it that
third generation.
It's just part of you, but the thing that I love about it is that I had him take lessons when he was younger, mm-hmm. but he quit, and I didn't push him, and he went back to it, and he found it on his own, and it is his passion. And so it's really fun to be able to see. He'll sit there for 3 and 4 hours a day and work on a song, and that's really what it takes to become mm-hmm. professional to the level that you could actually make it in the business. And so But it has to be you. You can't be
Yeah, you
forced
don't
to do
have
something like that.
he doesn't have his parents pushing him into the business like your
That's-
father and
that's right.
his siblings did, which in a way, like we've talked about, is good, but in a way it's not your choice as to what you want to do. So that is something that keeps coming up all the time when people ask the Osmond brothers on YouTube and everything about their lives together. And your aunt Marie, she had the doll collection, and this is the Osmond's 50th anniversary. Golden. And what do you feel like when you know that your family's been an iconic family for so long?
It's so kind of mind-boggling to me, honestly, because I think of them as like Uncle Donnie and Aunt Marie. Like Marie and I were texting this morning, and she's my aunt, and I love her, you know. And it's I'm so proud of my family. I'm so proud that they've accomplished what they have. I see myself as, you know, a little separate from it because I didn't put the energy and the time and the commitment into it, you know.
Yes.
But they're my family, and I'm so proud of the people that they are, and that they were able to endure 50 years in the entertainment business and still be very like family centric and faith centric, and not get too caught up in being famous or popular, but really, you know, keeping a very
They were grounded.
very grounded perspective. I think that's what I'm the most proud of them for.
Yes. And you had the opportunity to play your aunt.
I did.
How
I
old were
did.
you? Were sick when your mom kept telling me you were sick and you were throwing up or something on the way to the
I did,
film.
yes. I actually remember, this is one of my first memories, is I remember throwing up on the way to be filmed. It was in the movie Side by Side, and I played Little Marie, and I played my little violin, but I remember just being so sick and just throwing up over and over and over again as I went in, and I was like, okay, show must go on, you know. And so even at that age, it was like built right into you that, you know, you just do what you have to do. And I have to say that mentality has served me so well, just in business and in life. Like, I've never been one to back away from a challenge and say, you know what, I've worked enough, this is good enough. And I attribute a lot of that to the family that I grew up in, because perfection was always the goal, you know.
Definitely.
It was how can I be better and do better and continuously get better. And it was never like, it was in a positive way, but my dad wanted to be the best and wanted to be perfect at his craft, and that's how I feel. And I brought that into my own marketing. Like I tell all of my colleagues, I'm like, my goal is to be the best marketer in the world. It's going to take me a while.
You're young.
But I'm always going to strive towards that, and it helps me a lot in,
and you're a
in the
hard
work that I
worker,
do.
because a lot of times I will call you or ask you to go with me someplace or do something, and I can't. I'm working.
Well, I do. I work.
You work.
Like you and I talk about. Like I do work and I do kids.
Working family. That's all.
And that's all I do right now. But
Yes.
but it's great because there are seasons for it, right? So when my kids are grown up and they don't want, or when they're all teenagers and they think I'm lame, then I'll have more time.
They will too.
And they will. It will happen.
But one last thing, a tribute to your parents, I'm sure, is you were a National Merit Scholar.
I was, yes. Yep.
So you've got a lot going for you besides the name, and I'm glad.
Thank you.
I'm glad you are in my life.
Oh, I feel
It's so
the
much
same
fun.
way. Your friendship means a lot to me, Francine, and I appreciate being able to come on the show and talk about my family that I'm so proud of, and just really grateful for the opportunity.
And this is the last season for Donnie and Marie in Las Vegas.
That's
so if anybody wants
right.
to see them, they got to get to Las Vegas
That's
this summer.
right. You got to go out there before. And really, as their niece, I thought to myself, man, they're kind of getting old, and I feel like I've seen this show, and is it going to be any good, right? And I went. I was totally blown away. I really was, even as their kid. I mean, they're their relative, and
and I was really amazed at the energy and how entertaining it was, and
It's a high energy show.
it is. I was really impressed, and so I thought it was fun. There was a lot of banter, and people seemed to really enjoy themselves. So
Yes.
I would definitely recommend going if you haven't been lately.
Well, the family has a really big fan base, and they're sticking with them forever. We know that they've been with them since they were 3 years old,
That's right.
and so that's just part of Americana now.
Well, it's been wonderful to be able to connect with so many people who have grown up with them or know them, and just in retrospect, I look back on it and I think of how grateful my family has felt to have that fan base and to have people who are loyal supporters, and like that means like a lot of people probably don't understand how much it means for a performer to have a fan. Like it is such it's an amazing relationship really, and a lot of the people who have been fans and friends for a couple of decades or whatever have become very close friends, and it's a really meaningful relationship, and it's wonderful to see the gratitude that my family feels because they know that that's what they're doing is their goal is to serve and to try to bring joy to other people through their music, and the reaction of the fans is very gratifying to them, and relationships there too.
One last thing is, I asked your cousin one night, we were at some event, I said, do you know the names of all your cousins and their kids and everything? And he said, I have to give it a lot of thought. Is it hard? How many cousins in your generation?
So there's 60 of us.
60?
And I'm one of the older cousins, so I'm fortunate to know everybody, because I'm one of the older ones. But I don't know everybody's kids.
Yes.
And there are over 150 of us,
Wow.
including the younger kids, and so
your reunions are gigantic.
I would know, I know them. They're like, Brandon Kidd or whatever, but I don't know all their names, and that's actually a good goal to have.
That's an achievement, an accomplishment if you did that.
That's right.
But thank you so much for sitting
it's such a
down and
pleasure.
giving the viewers a little glimpse of what it was like to grow up in the Osmond family.
It's so fun to be able to talk about it, and thank you for the chance.
And continued success with all your endeavors, like your publishing, everything, your marketing. You're doing such a great job. I'm so proud. I'm proud to have you in my life.
I feel the same. Thanks, Francine.
Okay. We'll see you next time on Beyond the Red Carpet. I'm Francine Brokaw.
Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this little chat. If you have, please like, share, subscribe, and if you'd like to be notified of future postings, click that notification bell. Alrighty, I'll see you soon.